Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This class is the 12th class of the Extreme Beginner series. In the last class, we covered transform orientation. If anyone missed that class, they can click on the link provided in the description to watch it. In today's class, we will be discussing pivot points. So make sure to watch this video until the end because I will be explaining pivot points in detail. As I have mentioned in the previous classes, in a 3D world, we have the origin of the 3D world at the center. However, apart from that, every object present in the scene has its own pivot point. If I move this cube slightly to the side, you will notice a yellow dot at the center of the cube. That's the origin of this cube. The pivot point or origin of any object plays a significant role in its transformation. For instance, if I rotate the cube, it will rotate around its origin. And if I scale it, the scaling will be relative to its origin, either increasing or decreasing from the origin. However, there are many occasions where we need to change the origin of an object, or we want the origin of the object to be somewhere other than its center. For that purpose, we have the transform pivot point option available in the header. When we click on it, all options will be displayed. For now, the median point is selected, which is the default. To illustrate this, I will make some copies of this cube. If I select all of them now, the manipulator will show up at the median point, which may not necessarily be at the center of all objects. The median point essentially works in a way that it will be on the side where there are more objects. If I select these cubes and move them to the other side, now there are more objects this side. Now the median point will be on this side. And if I rotate them now, they will rotate around the median point. Now let's explore the bounding box center option. The bounding box works by placing the origin at the center point of all the selected objects. For example, I will make additional copies. Now when I select them, the origin or manipulator will be centered. In this case, even if there are lesser or more objects on one side, it will not make a difference. The origin will still be placed at the center of all objects overall. After that, we have the option of the 3D cursor. 3D cursor is positioned at the origin of the 3D world, marked by a symbol. When the 3D cursor is selected above in header, the origin of all selected objects in the scene will be aligned with the 3D cursor. This means that if we select objects and then rotate them, they will rotate around the 3D cursor. If we scale the objects, they will scale from the position of the 3D cursor. We can change the position of the 3D cursor as we like. By pressing Shift and right clicking with the mouse cursor at the desired location, the 3D cursor will move to that position. So by moving the 3D cursor and then selecting objects to rotate, they will rotate around the 3D cursor. I can move the 3D cursor here as well. After that, we have the individual origins option. With this option enabled, when we transform objects, each object will undergo transformation around its own origin. Whether we scale or rotate them, each object will manipulate it from its own origin point. After that, the last option we have is active element. As you may know, in Blender, when multiple objects are selected, they all have an orange border, but one object has a yellowish border around it. This object with the yellowish border is called the active object or active element. We can make any selected object the active object by holding down Shift and clicking on it. We can set any object as the active object. Then when we rotate all selected objects, we rotate around the origin of the active object. I will demonstrate by making another object active. So these were the options for transform pivot point. I hope you have understood this class. We will meet again in the next class. Until then, goodbye and take care.